Hello, and welcome to Cyber Risk Management in Practice. In this video, we're entering a new phase, one that builds on everything we've done so far. We're talking about cyber resilience. At this point in the program, you've laid the foundation. You've assessed risks, implemented controls, built processes, and created visibility. But here's the reality. Even with all of that in place, things will still go wrong. And that's where resilience comes in. Cyber resilience isn't just about defending against attacks. It's about what happens next, how the organization absorbs disruption, adapts under pressure, and continues to operate. It's not only a technical issue, it's a business capability. We frame cyber resilience through two core lenses: readiness, your ability to anticipate, plan, and prepare, and responsiveness, your ability to react, adapt, and recover. These aren't opposites, they're partners, and they both build directly on the foundation you've already created. Without a risk program, you don't know what matters. Without resilience, you can't protect what matters when it counts. Incidents are no longer a matter of if, they're a matter of when. And what sets mature organizations apart isn't perfection, it's the ability to recover with clarity, speed, and confidence. That's what this chapter is all about. Preparedness is your ability to anticipate disruption before it happens. It's about understanding what really matters and what the ripple effects would be if something were to fail, whether from a cyber incident, a system outage, or a broader crisis. The core tool for this is the Business Impact Analysis, or BIA. Now, I know that for some teams, the BIA is seen as a paperwork exercise. But done right, it's one of the most useful tools you have because it brings together business knowledge, operational insight, and risk thinking all in one place. The goal of the BIA is simple: identify your most important activities and understand what would happen if they were disrupted. Which systems support them? What data do they rely on? How long could they be down before causing serious harm, whether financially, legally, reputationally, or operationally? It's not just about listing applications or dependencies. It's about understanding what's mission critical and what's not. That context helps you prioritize recovery, allocate resources, and design more effective response plans. If you're looking for guidance, ISO 22317 is a great starting point. It provides a structured approach to conducting a BIA, from scoping to execution to documentation. But remember, what matters most is making it practical. The BIA doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be useful. And it should be refreshed over time, not treated as a one-time task. When you use the BIA as a living input to your planning process, it becomes one of the most valuable assets in your resilience toolkit. BIA sets the priority for the building the three layers that can improve our responsiveness: incident response, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Incident response is where resilience gets tested. Having a plan on paper is one thing. Being able to execute it under pressure is something else entirely. That's why building a strong incident response capability means going beyond templates. It's about having the right people, processes, and clarity so that when something happens, you're not scrambling to figure out what to do next. The Incident Response Plan, or IRP, should include roles and responsibilities, communication paths, escalation triggers, and coordination points with legal, HR, PR, and leadership. You want your plan to be realistic. If your IRP assumes everyone will respond within 15 minutes at 3 a.m. on a Sunday, it's not grounded in reality. You have to think about how the plan fits into your actual organizational dynamics. Referencing standards like NIST SP 861 or CIS's incident response guidance can help structure your approach, but your plan should reflect your size, complexity, and business model. The plan itself is just the beginning. You also need playbooks, scenario-specific guides that help responders know what to do based on the type of incident. A ransomware playbook looks different from one for a cloud outage or an insider data leak. Each one should outline initial steps, internal coordination, external notifications, and points where decisions need to be made. And speaking of decisions, incident response is full of them. What to contain, what to disclose, who to involve, how to handle evidence. All of it must be thought through in advance. This is why testing matters. Not just annual tabletop exercises, but meaningful simulations that help teams build muscle memory and confidence. An incident isn't the time to learn how your tools work or who owns what. That needs to be settled ahead of time. And communication is part of the plan, not separate from it. Knowing how and when to notify stakeholders, regulators, customers, or partners is just as important as knowing how to isolate a compromised endpoint. A well executed incident response doesn't just protect systems, it protects trust. Recovery is where the technical and operational pieces of resilience come together. It's not just about flipping systems back on, it's about restoring functionality in a way that aligns with business priorities and real world constraints. This is where the Disaster Recovery Plan, or DRP, comes in. The DRP focuses on how to bring systems, infrastructure, and data back online after a disruption. That could mean recovering from ransomware, data corruption, system failure, or a full-blown outage. And it starts with two critical concepts, RTO and RPO. RTO is your recovery time objective, how quickly a system needs to be restored. RPO is your recovery point objective, how much data loss is tolerable, usually measured in time. These targets should be informed by your BIE, not guessed in a vacuum. If a system has a 4-hour RTO, but your DAR strategy takes 8 hours to restore, there's a gap. And in a real incident, that gap can translate into lost revenue, legal exposure, or customer churn. Recovery planning also means thinking through your backup strategy. What's being backed up? How often? Where is it stored? How quickly can you restore it? Cloud services may offer resilience, but they don't eliminate your responsibility to understand and test recovery. And don't forget about recovery sites. For some organizations, that means hot or warm sites. For others, it may be cloud-based failover or a mix of physical and virtual environments. The point is, recovery isn't one size fits all. It needs to be scoped to your environment and aligned with your actual risk tolerance. One of the biggest risks in recovery planning is assuming systems will come back up in the right order. Dependencies matter. If your identity system is down, even fully restored apps won't be accessible. That's why part of your DR planning should include dependency mapping and recovery sequencing. And it's not just about internal systems. Third-party dependencies play a role here too. If a key vendor is down, can you still recover your data? Can you reroute traffic or operate in a degraded mode? Testing is what brings all of this to life. Realistic data tests, not just checkbox drills, help teams practice failover, validate assumptions, and uncover single points of failure before they become real problems. Recovery isn't glamorous, but it's one of the clearest demonstrations of a mature cyber risk program. Business continuity is about more than restoring systems. It's about keeping the organization running when things don't go as planned. Where disaster recovery focuses on technology, business continuity zooms out to look at people, processes, facilities, and communication. It asks, what happens when systems are down, but operations still need to move forward? Or when people can't access the office, but critical decisions still need to be made? This is where the Business Continuity Plan, or BCP, takes center stage. The BCP builds directly on the business impact analysis and the disaster recovery plan. It takes what you've learned about critical activities, acceptable downtimes, and recovery priorities and expands it into a broader strategy for operational resilience. That might include manual workarounds, alternate workflows, remote access strategies, or relocation options. It also includes cross-training, because if key personnel are unavailable during a crisis, someone else needs to step in. Business continuity planning also ties into internal and external communications. When disruptions happen, people need clear information. That includes employees, customers, partners, and possibly regulators or the media. Having predefined templates, contact lists, and decision paths reduces noise and speeds up response. Continuity planning also means being realistic about your capacity. You may not be able to bring everything back at once, and that's okay. The goal is to prioritize what keeps the business stable while recovery happens in the background. And just like disaster recovery, business continuity must be tested. Walkthroughs, simulations, and tabletop exercises help identify blind spots and give teams confidence when a real disruption occurs. Keep always in mind that continuity planning isn't just about surviving the crisis. It's about showing your organization and your customers that you're prepared, capable, and trustworthy. Crisis management is where all the preparation, planning, and coordination get put to the ultimate test. It's the moment when a situation moves beyond routine disruption and into something that challenges the organization's stability, reputation, or even survival. And in these moments, the difference between chaos and control often comes down to leadership. Not just who's in charge, but how decisions are made, how information flows, and how people respond under pressure. This is where ISO 22361 becomes incredibly useful. It's a standard focused on crisis management, offering guidance on structure, decision making, communication, and coordination during high stress, high impact situations. It doesn't prescribe exactly how to organize your response. Instead, it helps you build a framework that matches your size, culture, and risk profile. That includes defining roles in advance, creating clarity around decision rights, and preparing communication strategies for different audiences, internal, external, and regulatory. One of the most overlooked parts of crisis management is decision fatigue. When things move fast and the stakes are high, people don't always think clearly. Even experienced leaders can become overwhelmed or fixated on the wrong problem. That's why preparation matters. By rehearsing scenarios, documenting responsibilities, and building confidence across teams, you create space for better decisions in real time. Crisis management also means knowing when to escalate and when to de escalate. Not every incident needs a full executive response. But when one does, that structure should already exist, so you're not inventing it on the fly. And after the crisis, your work isn't over. A good crisis management program includes after action reviews, clear documentation of what went well, what didn't, and how to improve. This is how resilience grows from one event to the next, getting stronger over time. Cyber resilience isn't about preventing every failure. It's about navigating the unexpected with focus, clarity, and confidence. And when leadership is prepared, aligned, and grounded in a structured approach like ISO 22361, the organization is in a much better position to respond and recover, no matter what comes next. If this approach resonates with you, there's a lot more discussed in the book. Find your copy and embark on this journey with me, improving your cyber risk management program step by step with a practical approach.